doing better than we did a minute ago. We may be live. Oh, Facebook. Okay, maybe we're live. Let's see if I can find us. Okay. And why is this not giving me my groups? Okay, here we go. Hey, we are live. What do you know about that? Sorry, everybody. This new Facebook business, they just changed their interface, and I have no idea what's going on this morning. So we all learn together. Right, Lori?
We're live and we're on time.
It's amazing. It's amazing what can happen. Okay, let me get ourselves all organized here, and anybody who's here, oh, there's a few of you here. Thank you so much for putting up with me while I get this started, because this is not always an easy thing to do. Okay.
I just sit here calm. We're live and we're on time.
Okay. Yeah, had to shut that off. Good morning, everybody. Oh, yay, we've got people wishing us a good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, we're gonna this thing's being a little temperamental today, so if we have any technical difficulties, I'm just warning you in ahead of time. Hopefully we won't, because we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. We do. And I'll start it off with, we'll talk about the Friday CAR meeting. Did they have anything interesting that went on this week, or are they still rehashing a lot of the same stuff?
There's a lot of rehash. I mean, it's good information, but it almost feels like the legal hotline. It's just weird, random things that don't always apply to everybody. So I don't have a lot of notes on it, but there was one underlying question, which is when do we get to do fill in the blank? And I thought that our CEO, Joel Singer, made a really good point. He says, the state sees us doing well, so what more do we want? So from his point of view, it's not really top priority because we're already deemed essential and there's already a lot of activities that we're able to do. So what more do we want? Well, obviously our industry wants a lot more. The common question we hear all the time is, when can we do open houses? So nothing has changed from his, what I gathered from his point of view. He's not expecting any updates to our guidance anytime soon, because again, there's a lot we're doing already. So what more do we need? So just hang tight. The rules are still the rules. They're still in place. I'm seeing a lot of creativity out there. I have a lot of my broker clients send me screenshots of things with the caption, "Can you believe this?" A lot of, compliant open house being advertised. I just really want to warn you, the guidance doesn't allow for that yet. So you're taking a risk. And Lisa's going to talk about, we'll segue into that in a minute. She's going to kind of talk about what that can potentially look like. But secondly, what we did go over is the new laws that have been, that are passed that take effect January 1. For the most part, January 1. There's a couple that take effect sooner that don't really impact us too much. There's a couple that take effect later in the year. But if you go to CAR's website, you'll be able to see the Q&A, and I'll post it in our page. It's 55 pages when you print it, so I don't recommend printing it because not all of them apply to real estate. These are all of the new laws for California. So I encourage you to attend some of the CAR sessions because they'll be going over it. And Lisa's going to talk about the schedule, and I'll point out which one you'll want to go to. It's today, as a matter of fact. So if you have time, it's a couple hours, but they'll be going over the new laws and some other things. But, they talked about the Fair Housing discrimination advisory that came out October 1st. It's attached to all of our contracts so that it's easy for us. We don't forget. But if you're a broker, be sure to update your broker checklist. I encourage you to have it as a required document as part of your company policy. Gov. Hutchinson made it clear that the form is not mandatory by law, which is true, but they've attached it to all of the contracts, therefore suggesting that it's required. CAR can't require it. It has to be required by law. So that's the best they can do, is attach it to our documents so that we all get accustomed to using it. And his recommendation was not to detach it. I can't imagine any reason why you'd want to detach it. So be sure to update your checklist.
And you have that available to share so everybody can take a peek?
Yeah.
We're going to do the screen sharing today.
Let's do that. All right, so yes, so here's the new laws. I'll post in the link of where you can find it, but as I mentioned, 55 pages. Or did you want the fair housing? Sorry, well, here's the new laws.
Yeah, you're here. Let's just
I have both. Yeah. Here's the new laws. There are many, and as I mentioned, there are a handful of ones that are specific to real estate. And so I have not had enough time to go through this yet to really give any detailed information of at least which ones to look out for. So maybe we'll do that in a future session. But CAR will be promoting education around the new laws, between now and the end of the year at length, because they want us all to be educated and prepared. So here's the Fair Housing and Discrimination Advisory. I know I called it discriminatory, it's discrimination. I have to get used to the name. But this is the new form. You can pull it up on its own, but it's also attached to all of the contracts. So listing contracts, purchase contracts, lease contracts, and buyer broker agreements. And so that took effect October 1. Did you want to cover any points on here, Lisa?
Yeah, we'll just kind of talk about a couple of things here. The number one item on there used to be all that was in any of our contracts, the equal access to housing for all. That was pretty much the only thing that was in any of our contracts before. So this really elaborates on what the protected classes are, the different laws that made them the protected classes that are all listed there, legal remedies for unlawful discrimination, and it goes over the protected classes. And one of the most important ones to know about, and I mean, we got a lot of them: sex, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, gender expression, marital status, familial status, source of income. That's a very important one, because you cannot discriminate on somebody based on how they get their money, including Section 8 vouchers. I think that would also include, spousal support, child support, any sort of assistance that somebody gets. You can't discriminate because of the source of the income. We have mental and physical disabilities, medical condition, citizenship. That one you cannot discriminate on. Primary language, immigration status, military veteran status, age, criminal history, non-relevant convictions, and any arbitrary characteristic. Now, that covers anything that really doesn't fall into these other classes, but let's say you have an aversion to tattoos, okay? You just don't like people with tattoos. Not to say that there's anything wrong with people with tattoos, but that's just play. It's your personal thing. You cannot discriminate against people with tattoos. You also can't discriminate. Let's say somebody's on the heavy side weight-wise, and they want to see an upstairs unit. And you're like, I don't want to show that to them because they're going to pound around and bother the people downstairs. Can't do that. Can't do that. Can't be, making those determinations just based on somebody's characteristics. You don't like the way they talk. You don't like the way they smell. I don't know what it is, but you cannot discriminate based on any arbitrary characteristic. And these are a combination of both federal and state law. Federal has a lot less protected classes. California has a lot more. So this is pretty much it in a nutshell. Laura, do you want to talk about number 5?
remember that the Department of Real Estate requires training and supervision to prevent housing discrimination by real estate licensees. So we have, we have laws that require us as practitioners to comply with, and the Department of Real Estate is required to enforce that. So any complaints that are lodged related to fair housing discrimination, it's not isolated to just the Department of Fair and Employment and Housing that could have jurisdiction over this. The Department of Real Estate could also have jurisdiction. They do also have jurisdiction and can review complaints against you as a licensee. And if they find that you violate the law, they can pursue disciplinary action, which could even include revocation of your license. So, we have to remember that we as practitioners have different entities who have control and can't even think of the word I'm trying to use. They have the ability to totally have a loss for words.
Slap your hand. They can slap your hand and do a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, thank you. They have the obligation even to review any of the complaints that come in as it pertains to their jurisdiction over that area. So that's why we have to be even more careful, because the Department of Real Estate is looking for a variety of other things, and lo and behold, they're also looking for this as well. Particularly in advertising, if they see it, they may be looking for something else related to your advertising, but they could also find a fair housing violation there as well.
And it's interesting to note the next item, number 6, if you don't already get yourself in trouble, legally and with the DRE, you also can be violating the NAR Code of Ethics and get brought on a grievance hearing. So, kind of watch yourself, because we don't have one, we don't have two. We got 3 different whammies that can get you on this. And believe me, there are testers out there. There are people that go out to see if you are discriminating on a protected class. So we're going to have on pretty soon, I have to check and see if she's got her HUD clearance, somebody who runs a nonprofit that actually does do fair housing testing. So we're going to have her coming up on upcoming Monday Morning Coffee and Compliance. But
that's great.
So,
yeah, if you've ever heard of mystery shoppers, this is a mystery shopper type scenario, and it happens. So we should always be behaving properly. We shouldn't be doing something just because we think someone might be watching. I mean, we have a moral obligation, but also we have a legal obligation, a licensing obligation, and a code of ethics obligation.
Okay, let's scroll down a little bit on here, and we have some examples, and we won't go over all of the examples, but it also covers who all of the entities are that are governed by this. Sellers, homeowners associations. Ooh, I kind of like that one, because that kind of goes into my FHA condo project approval business, which just gives me a little bit more ammo. Love it. But we also have examples of conduct that may not be motivated by discriminatory intent, but could have a discriminatory effect. I don't think I said that right previously. We're going to talk a little bit about item A, which is lovingly known as the buyer love letters. And we all know, we've talked about this before, and we all know that our clients have been told by their friends or their relatives, if you want to have your offer accepted, you need to write one of those letters and tell them all about your family and your dog and how you want to have babies and live in this wonderful family home and all of these things we're not supposed to be talking about. So, and I just had one of my last buyers demand that I give one with our offer. Now, as a listing agent, I don't want to see this stuff, okay? We talked about this in Oh, we talked about it somewhere. I don't even remember where we talked about it. And it was like, you can write a letter about how much your client loves the home and talked about the different aspects of the home that they love. And hey, great, that's it. Don't be talking about, you know, their family size, their intent to have children, any personal information at all. Do not give personal information. As long as it doesn't contain any personal information about your clients, then hey, you can submit that with your offer all day long, just saying how much they love the home because of this reason, that reason, that reason. Nothing about them. Okay. If you do present these letters to your seller and say, hey, look, there's a nice little family that wants to call your home home. Oh, I really want to sell to a family, ignoring the single person or whomever. Guess what? That single person or whomever could find out that they, you know, wanted to sell to a family. Maybe they told a neighbor, you know, I want to be sure that a nice family buys this home, a nice family of this kind of background. Okay, and believe me, do you think the neighbors don't talk? I tell my sellers, you disclose everything that a neighbor could ever tell the new buyer. Wouldn't that just be horrific if the new buyer or one of the other people come by and, you know, just want to see who's in there and runs into the guy washing his car? Yeah, it's great. The seller got that family that they wanted. You know, and it's like, whoa, hey, you know, I mean, we're talking some really bizarre things that would have to happen for this to happen, but it can happen. So don't present these things to your seller. So you and your seller are going to be handling this property. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
So thank you for that. Hopefully, I know it was so obvious. I was holding back some smiles, and this is not a funny topic, but
it's not funny at all.
I always get a kick out of Lisa and her one-woman show when she's when she's talking and playing the different characters. It always just gives me a chuckle. So you know, very important information, and you know, you're right. And you know, Doug Hutchinson, he talks about this, you know, week after week. And this last week, he gave some really relevant advice. And I think it was some of the best description that I had heard on it. And he's, you know, he asked the question, is it acceptable to have a letter? Well, yes, letters and photos are not illegal, but the concern is conveying protected information of the buyer. It increases the risk to the seller. They can be accused of you liked or disliked the personal characteristics of one buyer over another. You preferred something, you chose something, or didn't prefer, didn't choose. So it's better not to know about any of these characteristics so your seller won't be accused of any bias.
Exactly. Now we do have a couple of comments in here. Carol is asking, what would constitute a non-relevant conviction?
Heck if I know.
Maybe like a DUI or something, you know, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, how would you know?
Yeah.
Well, we were presented back when we had the member benefit committee a couple of years ago, we were presented with an app that was supposed to be helpful in screening potential clients to see if, you know, they were legit and if they had some sort of criminal background. And I'm testing it out and I'm like putting in people that I know. And I'm like, oh, that person's got something. Ooh. You know, and I'm like, I'm going to put my own name in. I put my own name in and it says, I have a criminal history. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have a criminal history. What is going on here? I look and it basically doesn't say much about it. So then I go and do a dive into, you know, what could possibly be triggering this. And Lori's going to love this because this is her pet peeve. My car registration tags had expired and I got a ticket.
You're such a criminal.
Yeah, that was my criminal record was, which I want you to know, I got my tags the next day. And Lori's always very good about reminding me about that.
I don't know. It's something that catches my attention. It's the color of the stickers. It's so obvious.
It's the weirdest thing. We'll be walking through a parking lot and Laura's like, that person's tax expired. It's like, where did this come from? So anyhow, but, so be very careful if you're relying on one of those apps or something. Because I swear I'm really not a criminal. My registration's paid. I am paid 2 months early right now. I want you all to know. Thank you, Lori, just for those handy reminders. And but don't trust that stuff because it's not correct. And I guess if somebody discloses something to you, I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there that have had this situation. How it actually comes up, I don't know. If anybody has any good ideas. Oh, we've got some popping up already. I love this group. They're so interactive.
We'll have to do some dig on what maybe the true definition is. I mean, I have some thoughts and maybe what's posted are either definitions or thoughts. I don't know. Let's hear them.
Okay, so Jeff says relevant conviction means any unspent criminal conviction relating to actual or potential acts of terrorism or acts which threaten national security. Well, what about, no, I don't want to say somebody's a child molester because, well, that's kind of pertinent anyhow, but, okay. And then Harry Solomon says he's in trouble. So anyhow, if anybody has anything else to put, about that in the feed, throw it on in. We'll try to bring it up.
Yeah, we'll try to dig deeper and see what that could be. I mean, one example I can think of is if you have and I'm not an attorney, so I may not be right on this, but I'm thinking, if you have an eviction and we're evicted and then you're applying for a lease, to me, that would be relevant.
Yeah, I think that would be a relevant situation, but maybe not if you're buying a house.
Right. If you're not buying, if you're buying a house, then maybe that wouldn't be relevant. Yeah. So we'll have to look because I can think of a few things like when it comes to licensing and as a broker looking at someone with a restricted license, if I'm considering someone that has a restricted license, I want to know what it was and you can look on their record and read it and find out. But you also need to talk to them and figure out, okay, what happened? And I kind of use this very simplistic test of, were they young and dumb and, shoplifted at 18 years old? Or did they commit, some sort of crime like burglary? If they committed burglary, then no, I don't want them as an agent because that's related to breaking into properties. Versus, shoplifting at 18 and now they're 45 years old. To me, that's not relevant. So completely different, but that's a kind of test I would use on a restricted license, which at the same time, the Department of Real Estate's doing that background check on those potential licensees, but that's completely different than a client. So maybe not very helpful, but there you go.
Yeah, it's interesting because now that we're going to be a little bit more aware of this, because I could not have told you what all of the protected classes were, now at least I have something to refer to. So it's good. And, we're pretty up on things. And if we can't list off every protected class, I don't think the average agent in the street can. So, I'm pretty happy that this got done. And you know what? I'm going to give a little toot of the horn on this one. I don't think we discussed this. Did we discuss the origin of this form, Lori?
Very discreetly we did.
We did, very discreetly. This form actually came about because of the actions and efforts of what I shall call the founders and admins of the Deliberately Fair Housing Facebook group. There's a group of us that said, when all of this crazy stuff was starting to go down about, the inequities and various different things that are going on out there regarding race discrimination. And we said, you know what, we've got to do something. We've got to do something. But what can we do? And the first thing that we noticed was there was that one single line in our contracts regarding fair housing and discrimination. And it's like, how would you even pick up on that line? Because we've got so many lines in there that are just little one-liners that we don't even really look at them. And it's like, this is important stuff. This is really important stuff. If, you know, you fall into one of these protected classes, which really, when you think about it, all of us are teetering on the edge of one or the other anyhow. You need to know that there's laws to protect you, and you need to know what classes there are. And if you feel that you have been had your rights violated by somebody in housing, it tells us where to go. And this was an action of 5 people. And we submitted this to the CAR executive committee that we wanted an advisory made. We gave them an outline and a frame, and they listened, and they brought it to strategic planning and finance, and they listened. And the next thing you know, we got us a form. So I know Lori and I talked at Woman Up, if any of you were there at our Woman Up talk, that, you know, don't assume somebody else is doing something. If you think something needs to be done, put yourself out there and do it, because I'm pretty darn proud that myself, Janet Dorsey, Farrah Wilder, Leon Townsend, and Susie Dunkel Soto got together and spent time to put this to the forefront of our state association. So, you know, we can all do something to help others. Hopefully we're going to help some people with this. And I just wanted to give Janet and Farrah and Leon and Susie a shout out for good work. And gosh, since then, Farrah got hired on as the chief diversity. What is it called?
Diversity, equity, it's DEI and inclusion.
That's it. Director. Officer. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm just like was blanking right there. So we've got some good people doing some good work right now, and I'm really pleased to see our association, our state association, take action and to do it quickly. So bravo to CAR.
Nice job, everyone. So while you were explaining that, I went on to the Department of Fair Housing Department of Fair Employment and Housing website. And initially what comes up for the criminal history is all related to employment. So I had to dig a little deeper, and I did find a fact sheet regarding fair housing and criminal history. And in just glancing at it, most of the points are all related to leasing, renting and leasing. So I'll post this info, dig a little deeper to see if there's anything related to purchasing. You know, I would imagine that lenders have to be careful. You know, they could probably fall into this trap easier than the real estate agent would if they choose not to give a loan or cannot qualify someone for a loan based on criminal history. As far as them purchasing, I don't know that agents would really have access to that information to use that as part of a determining factor, but they could. I mean, people Google each other all the time now. They go to those background search. You know, there could be a homeowner that says, well, I want to know who's going to be living here, and could do their own research. So there's definitely the potential for it. And the fact that it's not immediately obvious to us, I would like to be hopeful and say that means we're not looking at that. We're not considering that a factor. We need to be aware of it and make sure we don't consider it a factor. But it's one of those weird things where it's like, if you don't know about it, then you don't do it. And I know that that's very naive. But I think people who always think about things if they perceive people to do sneaky things, it's because they themselves can imagine all the potential sneaky ways to get something done. And I always view that as kind of a bad characteristic.
I'm feeling really good about like drawing blanks right now.
Right, me too. That's a weird thing to say, right? Yeah. It's true. Okay, let's move on before we get ourselves into trouble here.
Well, and we have a couple of comments here. Carol said, if we are to abide by this, there should be some sort of list of guidelines. Where can we check on this? And, you know, the comments that are being made in here, I'm going to convey these to people that may be able to do something, because this is kind of a whole new thing. Doug also says maybe buyer's name should be removed as well from offers due to the fact that someone could be discriminated against just by your name. We are discussing that too. CAR is forming a task force. Unfortunately, neither Lori or I are on there, but I know people that are, so we can, you know, get some of this information to them. I agree on blind contracts. I think that that's the best thing, that if we just take the people's names off, you can find out after you accept the offer, of course. But if we just take the names off, that levels the playing field. It really does.
And there's discussion of that within one of the threads on, I'm an NAR director, so I'm on a couple different communication threads through their portal. And I've seen that come up. I don't remember which group it was. I'm on the risk management committee for NAR. It may have been in that group, but I'm not 100% sure that it was. And it's that same question has come up there. So it's more than just a state conversation. It's a national conversation within our industry. So we may see something of that come up. We have our meetings in November. I don't know if that's going to be on the agenda to discuss at the board meeting, but it might. It's definitely going to be in at least one committee, either risk management or pro standards, and it could be in both committees. And then if any motions are made, that would go to the board of directors. So we may actually see something related to that in the next month.
Yeah, and we just had a risk management meeting, and that wasn't brought up at all this time, but January is around the corner. So from state standpoint, but like I said, we've got our connections, we work them, and you know, I'm going to really be on the bandwagon for blind contracts. I think if we made that a standard business practice, we would all be well served by that. And let's see. And as far as the guidelines, I think that we might be seeing something on that too regarding educating. Maybe, you know, companies can use, or associations can use on our Deliberately Fair Housing Facebook group. If you're not a member, please go over there and join it. I'm trying to keep the two separate, but we're kind of like little sister groups. And this is the kind of stuff that we want to be putting out on that groups. And one of the things that I hope to see is that we will be providing tools and educational resources that can be used by local associations and companies for free. You know, this is just, we're just doing this out of the goodness of our heart here. And, you know, to help people, educate them as to, you know, maybe we have some tools that are available that could give better guidelines to the protected classes, what we need to know about those. So that's something that we'll work on over there on that group. So if you're not a member, come join us. I think we're at like 275, and we've only been around since, you know, really warming up. So we'd love to have you, because we're doing some good work over there, but we're trying to keep the two separate. This is kind of an overlap. So come join us. It'll be good.
Yeah, there are larger discussions over there, but from a compliance point of view, and for our listeners that want to stay in the know, you know, they do overlap. We need to make sure everyone's in the know, but I absolutely agree. We need better definitions of some of these categories so we don't step in it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good that this is out there, and it will only continue to be improved upon. And any constructive criticism, questions, suggestions, throw them at us. We're in our CAR business meetings this week, so we're going to be able to talk to all kinds of people. In fact, some of those all kinds of people sometimes join us here on Monday Morning Coffee and Compliance.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anything else on there that we need to see?
Just be sure to read through paragraph 9. There's a lot of examples of unlawful or improper conduct, and some of it's obvious and some of it we need the reminder. And then 10 has some examples of positive practices. So, be sure you read through this yourself. It's designed to have the clients sign it only, but in all honesty, I think agents should be signing this. So,
In fact, I asked Gov, why aren't the agents signing it? And he said, well, it's an advisory. It's an advisory from the agent to their client. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy that. But what are the names of the forms that we have to sign? Were we all four
SBSA
sign?
is an
A disclosure?
advisory. Well, that's an advisory. SBSA is an advisory, and the agents sign it. And if it's an advisory from the agent to the client, then I would have thought the agent would sign it.
You would think, huh?
My opinion.
I think we're going to have to bring this up, maybe in standard forms. Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't really happy with that answer. Personally, I think it's because they ran out of space.
Maybe. Maybe 3 pages.
Yeah, it's to me, I think that really because part of the thought process that our group had when we suggested this is probably the agents need this more than the clients.
Yeah.
You guys agree with that out there? Because I personally am going to stand by that. We need a little gentle reminder.
Yeah, I'll share. I'm going to go to my other screen and then do share again. I put something together for our brokerage, and it's basically an education program for our agents to make sure that they review all of these resources. And so one of the items is, let me pull it up, is the Fair Housing Declaration, which can be found on NAR's website. So if there's any brokers, who want some of this information from me so they can implement it in their brokerage, just send me a note. And one of the things that we're having them sign off on is the declaration, and it is for agents. The interesting thing is, though, the declaration itself doesn't have a signature. It's more of something you would post at your desk, I guess. So I'm going to pull that up in a second.
Which reminds me, I need to write down that because I got to do it.
Yeah, I gave my agents homework assignments, asking them all to complete the At Home with Diversity training and also review the NAR declaration and a few other things. Gosh, I'm having trouble getting it to pull up. Here we
go. Don't worry. I'm sure that when I have to share my stuff, it's going to be a hot mess.
All right. So this is the declaration page, and it's essentially, having the agent verify that, yes, they agree to follow all these things. So it's just one page. It's not a lot, but I'm asking my agents to DocuSign and send it to me, and I can keep it in their file. So I have a couple other resources. In fact, let's see, here's their training program, and they've got a variety of tasks, and most of them are reading something. Sorry, it scrolled too fast. Reading something, watching something, completing the At Home with Diversity class. And, it's difficult as a broker because we're required to supervise. We're required to make sure that our agents do these things, and yet we can't mandate it. So one of the things that I opted to do as the broker, and Lisa as my business partner, we agreed is, we're asking our agents to do the At Home with Diversity program, and then we're going to reimburse them for that. Right now it's $50. After December 31st, it goes up to $99. It's on sale right now. It's normally $99. And so we felt that it was the right thing to do to ensure that they do it, that they complete it. And after they complete it, then we'll reimburse them. So we're not even fronting the money for it and hoping they do it. They need to do it. And so if anyone is interested in seeing, what we're asking, then just let me know. I'd be happy to share.
Because we want to help everybody. Yep. I'm sorry, somebody decided they're going to clean house, but you know what? If I've got somebody cleaning my house, I'm not going to stop them. Go. If I'm not having the hand of God drink being delivered, like what happens in some happy hour Zooms, if the hand of God wants to vacuum, so be it. Okay, so that was our fair housing advisory. Now, we also had a little teaser today about the COVID police are here. And what that's about is I want to thank everybody in this group that contributes every week, because Lori and I sit on the local risk management committee for Orange County Realtors. And there was talk, during the meeting about, what some of the large brokerages are seeing, and, and it's manager to broker to whatever talk. And, and they're thinking everything's cool out there. And I'm like, excuse me, during our Monday morning coffee and compliance, we repeatedly hear about open houses and agents violating this, that, and the other thing. And we sense a lot of frustration that there's, it was like, what do we do? What do we do with these people? And it led to a conversation about, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit of guidance? Because we don't really have any guidance right now. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen. So give me a minute here, because this is probably going to be quite ugly. Let's see. Okay, I think that's what I want to do. Let me cancel this and try it again, because I'm not very good at this kind of stuff. So let's see. Here we go. Share, share, share. All righty. And I think I'm sharing my screen. You guys all see the Orange County Realtors Q&A resources. This is on, and I'm assuming you can see it because my screen, I'm just seeing my screen. So, okay. So as of October 2nd, under rules and regulations, I guess is where it's found. We're hoping that it will be part of the COVID link. So if you hit the COVID link key on the homepage, maybe by the end of the day, it'll show up there. But right now it's under rules and regulations. And we have a new Q&A and resources on COVID-19 safety compliance. So we have the industry guidelines for real estate professionals, and these are active links here that will go to the Department of Public Health and Cal OSHA guidance that's out there. So we have those links, and it says, does CAR have legal Q&A on industry guidance? This little yes right here will link you to that. Also, there is a, I want to say it's a video of Neil Kalin talking about best practices for showing properties and explaining the forms. And are traditional open houses permitted under industry guidance? No. Do not hold traditional open houses or showings that are open to the general public on a walk-in basis. See Q&A number 20, which there's a link to that, and industry guidance for real estate transactions. There's a link for that. Now, I know we're all seeing the people that are trying to skirt this, saying, I'm going to be doing an open house from 12 to 4. Schedule your private showing here. It's like, go to the rules and see what you're supposed to be doing. Really think about it. In this market, it's so friggin' hot. I know I say this every week. Why do you need an open house? I just put something on, I think like at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. I've got 2 offers in my hand and 5 more showings today. And I'm not going to spend my time doing an open house. It's silly. Anyhow, so who can enforce the rules and guidance? Da, 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 da. Okay. Who can I call if I see something?
We asked them to put COVID police. They rejected that idea.
And personally, we like it. So this is kind of your COVID police force here. Talk to the other broker, do that. I mean, you don't really want to, well, depending on who it is, you might want to go tell the agent, because sometimes they just need to know, and you don't want to really get them in trouble with their broker and say, you know what, you may not really want to be doing this, here, let me tell you where you can go find the rules. But, you know, number one, if you're not brave enough to do that, number two, you just don't want to, give their broker a call. That's really where it should all start, is give their broker a call. Now we know that there are some brokers out there that do let their agents do this. They think it's a good idea. They don't understand why we're not doing open houses. I don't know about you, but if I was a seller and my family was living in the house, no, I don't want just random people showing up and hanging out in my driveway and having my neighbors look and say, hey, look, Lisa's having a COVID party and that's her agent over there that's hosting it. Especially now, since, you know, we're starting to see an uptick in a lot of states. We're all here in California where things are pretty good, pretty good. When the weather cools down, we're probably going to see everything go back up. Hopefully, I'm just crossing my fingers that the events of this past weekend will show people you do need to wear a mask. Maybe we can keep it squashed, but maybe we won't. So we really need to still stay on our toes. This thing isn't going away, and we need to be responsible to our clients, and we need to be responsible to ourselves. And you know, there was something that Lori and I were invited to attend, and it was a group gathering at a restaurant where it said, you know, there'll be masks if desired. And my initial reaction to this invitation was quite different than Lori's. You know, I was immediately like, oh my God, why are they doing this? Why can't we do this by Zoom? We're not supposed to be interacting with people, you know, in groups or whatever. Now that's just me because I'm still pretty high on the COVID scale. And, you know, I thought I was down to a 6.5, but I think I'm a pretty steady 7 right now, you know, everything's said and done. But Lori had a different reaction. And Lori, what was your reaction?
My reaction was, wow, this is great. I'm glad we're going to be able to get together. The group was small-ish. I actually initially expressed that, yes, I could and would attend. And lo and behold, my internet sort of froze then, and it ended up in my drafts and never went. And after Lisa and I talked about it, I kind of thought about it more. I thought, I didn't even catch the mask part. I think I just glossed right over that. And so I ended up, I actually had a conflict in my schedule anyway. So I said no because of the conflict, but I didn't, at that point, I didn't feel good about being put in a position to have to give a reason of maybe why I didn't want to go. Because, you know, I did like rethink it and got to the point of, yeah, this probably is not a good idea. You know, I have been keeping my social circle pretty small. So to interact with a group, even though it was a smallish group, I did think about it. But my initial reaction was, oh, cool, that'd be great. I'd love to go support that. Going back to the, you know, the mindset that we had 8 or 9 months ago, that great, yeah, let's go do it. We're so eager to go and be involved that that for a moment I forgot about the world. I'm in my bubble and I forget about the world outside.
And we have to be respectful. Everybody is somewhere on the COVID scale. We don't really know what, you know, but we don't know where you are, and you don't know where other people are. And I think if we could just have a little bit of respect for each other, you know, hopefully this whole mass shaming either side will stop. I don't think that will happen, but I mean, we just really need to be respectful. And you know what? Some people aren't ready to come out and play. Others are like, hey, I'm going to go out and have a lick the doorknob party. Want to join me? And, you know, I mean, it's just everybody has their own deal. So the thing I think as real estate professionals, what we need to remember is everybody does have their own opinion of where they fall on the scale. And one person's, hey, great, they're doing an open house. I want to go see what's going on at the neighbors. You know, I want to go see that, you know, that kitchen remodel they did, which we know for open houses, like half of the people show up for that reason. You know, if you've got people just coming to the driveway, who are you to pre-clear these people? Why are they really there? Are you going to tell a neighbor, I'm sorry, you can't come look at the Joneses kitchen today? No, because you want this neighbor to be a potential client down the road. Well, that's pretty darn irresponsible, really, because our listing paperwork says, you know, everybody's supposed to see it online or have a pre-approval letter. I don't know where there's a box that says let every, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry in my house. I don't care. Um, so right there, you're putting yourself in kind of a not so good spot. So, you know, you got the neighbor over here that wants to be the Snoopy Looky Loo. And then you have the neighbor over here that is so disgusted by what they see because they're ranking a hard 10 on that COVID scale that they won't, you know, their house is hermetically sealed and they are not coming out. You know, they can be the neighborhood person on, what is it, next door or patch or whatever, saying, did you see what that agent did? Oh my God, it was horrible. You know what? It's really like no win because we don't know what people are seeing. We don't know what their reactions are going to be. And I think, you know, if you're, you know, somebody running an office out there, maybe have a talk with your agents and kind of remind them of public perception. You know, I mean, if you've been working a farm for a long time, do you really want 10 years worth of advertising to get thrown out because you decided you were going to hold an open house and you pissed off number 9.5 on the COVID scale? That can trash you. It can trash you because we all are driving around looking at those people and seeing the remarks on Facebook and saying, can you believe this person's doing that? If we're doing that, do you think the public's not doing that too? So back to, I'll get off my soapbox, back to
Number one, call Lisa. Lisa will give him a call. Lisa will call them on optics.
Yeah, it's really just kind of, you know, really it's an optics thing. That's exactly right. And I think all of us just need a little bit of a reminder on people are watching. People are watching. They're watching you on Facebook. They're watching you marketing your properties. Judgments are being made. I know we're not supposed to judge each other. We're judging each other all the time. Anybody who says that they don't judge people, we know they're all lying. So you're being judged. You're being watched. You're being watched by other industry professionals. You're being watched by your clients. However, if you have that conversation with a broker and you don't think it went well, don't go to OCAR. They're not the police. According to OCAR, they are not the police. However, you can file an anonymous complaint. You can file a grievance. You know, that's one tool that you have. The Department of Real Estate has an online complaint system, which I thought that was pretty cool. And I think they have a few in the system already, Lori, for this
yeah.
kind of stuff?
Yeah, people have already reported it. So they have an investigation team. They normally have a certain size of the investigation team. They've actually diverted some of their investigators to be on the lookout for things related to non-compliance of COVID. So they have a larger team now, basically.
And also you can contact the Orange County Healthcare Agency's hotline. If you have questions about enforcement, they have a link there. You can contact the sheriff's non-emergency number. Something tells me that's not going to amount to anything, unfortunately. And also Cal OSHA enforces the industry guidelines. You can report a potential violation to them as well. So all of the information is right there at your fingertips. Let others in your office know. And you know what? I think that that kind of helps us all kind of figure out where we're going. I'm just now hopping back on to see if there's any comments in here. Daniel Wu says that's what he's been waiting for. Daniel, I'm so happy that we can make you happy. And Janine says she was out on Saturday and there was agents putting private showing directional signs. I don't think those are really kosher, are they, Lori?
There's no rule that you can't use the signs. So that's another area that's gray where, you know, the rule doesn't say no signs. But the reality is, if you've already scheduled a private showing, does someone need directional signs?
You know what? You want to hear something? You want to know how you can get your clients there without signs? There's this thing called a phone. And you know what this phone has on it? I bet you your phone has two. It has maps and it has Google Maps. And you know what the really cool thing is? You put the address in and it tells you how to get there.
Exactly.
What a concept.
Yeah. See, we don't even need directional signs.
Who are you putting the signs up for?
Right.
Who are you putting the signs up for? You know, I know what I'm thinking about those agents that I see those signs up. I know what I'm thinking because I'm judgmental. Even though the Bible tells me not to be judgmental, I'm judgmental as hell. At least I'm going to call a spade a spade. But you know what? You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for your client. You're doing it for yourself. And people are watching and they're going to judge you. So I'm done with that. Anything else, Lori?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Well, on that note, what I'm going to bring up, because we have some good stuff, and I think we can be here next week. But the only reason why we might not be here next week is Monday is the first day of the CAR REImagine Expo, virtual expo. And it starts, we're going to do a little screen sharing here. I think we can do some screen sharing again. Okay. I'm so bad at this, it's not even funny. Okay. All righty. Here we go. We're going to share. Because it runs, what does it run? It runs from the 12th to the 14th. And you can register at CAR for one registration. Will cover all 3 days. And it starts at 9 o'clock on Monday. And you know what? I'm going to do a little bit more shameless self-promotion because guess what? First panel, 9 a.m. Everything you need to know about the virtual transaction from agents who've been there. Let's see, we have Lily Kwan, who I know, hopefully she's still here because she joined us this morning. Oh, and look, there's somebody familiar. And there's Shaniqua Badger from the Badger Group. And the three of us will be talking about how business has been and maybe you can learn some tips. Courtney Pullis is our moderator and we're fresh out of the gate. We can start off the whole thing. So we're going to be doing that from 9 to 9:50. We have some other really good speakers coming up, 9:15 to 9:45. Sharon Shrivasa, who's one of my personal favorites. He has some really good information. We have Pivot Your Plans and Bounce Back Fast with some really good brokers in here to talk about things, moderated by Joel Singer. And we have a few other ones. People might recognize a couple of these companies here, some good information from them. And oh, look, Leslie Appleton Young is going to be moderating. They're going to have an exhibit hall. They're going to have a little yoga. They're going to have a little talk with some economists here. So that's always kind of interesting to find out what they're thinking. So we have recognize and root out implicit bias. Implicit bias, you're going to be hearing a lot about that. We do have a lot of fair housing oriented activities taking place during REImagine, but this is just right out of the gate for the first day. Oh, we have a little Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Mary Lee Blaylock action here with Woman Up, leaders rising up and taking action, and our very own Janet Dorsey as well. So you're going to start your day with me and you're going to end your day with Janet. And I think that that's pretty cool. And Nina and Sarah and Leslie and Deborah. That's just day one. We have 2 more days. They're going to have Richard Rothstein, the author of the book of Color of Law. He's going to be speaking, and Bill Dedman, who did the Newsday expose, I guess we can call it. He's going to be there as well. So be sure to go on and register. And don't miss out because it's free. You can be comfortable. You can be dressed in your jammies all day. Nobody's going to judge because we won't see you. Oh, and Daniel, we can too discriminate against clients that don't have smartphones because, well, I know all of your clients would have smartphones. Yeah, judge you make judge. Yep. Janine, you are my soul sister in judgment. Okay, and Lily says, come join us. So we would love to see you there. And also, too, we have business meetings that are going on probably right now as we speak. That, go on to the CAR meetings. I don't know if, can anybody hop into committee meetings?
Committee meetings, many of them you have to register. And so if you're not a member of the committee, it's at the organization's discretion whether guests are allowed or not. But today, I'll put the link in. Today from 2 to 5 is the Member Legal Services Open Forum. And usually Gov Hutchinson will go over at this meeting the new laws. So he'll highlight the ones that directly relate to our industry. He will probably talk about the fair housing discrimination advisory. And then he usually opens it up to Q&A. And so, we'll hear a variety of questions. Some of them, are going to be relevant for the whole audience, and others, they should probably just call the legal hotline. But that'll be from 2 to 5. I know that sounds like a long time, but there's a lot of in-depth information. Some of it will be a repeat from information I've brought in, but it's always best to hear it directly from him because he's the leading authority on the interpretations. So I encourage you all to attend. I'll put the link in once we get off here.
And also, too, there's going to be the member director forum from 1 to 2 p.m. So you may want to hop onto that as well. We can probably put that link in too, and see what's going on. I always learn something interesting. I used to think, it's just going to be the rah, 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 rah. But they have had some really. They did a lot of insight into what happened at the Paradise Fire, and they had it was just heart wrenching. I mean, people.
So I don't know if you froze or I froze. Maybe, well, in case it's Lisa's.
Oh, I froze.
Okay.
I froze. I'm unstable. Am I
Okay.
back? Am I back?
You're back. You're back.
I'm unstable. But what else is right?
When there's only 2 of us, it's really hard to tell which one of us froze because usually for me, it's the other person freezes.
I look horrible.
Always how it happens. It freezes when we make a face. Yeah, we can put the links in, and if you're not a CAO director, I really encourage you to attend anything that sparks your interest or you have the available time, because this is a way to get more involved. And Lisa and I have so much knowledge about all of these things because we are involved. And so if you want to get the info direct, show up. And it's easy right now, it's virtual. So you can pop in and out of things.
I mean, I'm signed up for probably twice as many meetings than I would go to if we were there in person. Because normally, what happens is we go to a location, like I think we're supposed to be in Long Beach this week. And so we go to Long Beach and we got to, get dressed up and look all businesslike, and we run in our heels to this meeting, and then we run in our heels to that one.
In the convention centers, which are huge.
Yes. And sometimes they have it in the convention center and then at a hotel. And you're just running like a mad person. And, there's things overlapping, which really kind of irritates me because I'm on most of the directors are on 3 committees. We have to be, I think, on a minimum of 3 committees. And out of all the times we have this week, taxation and government finance and communication advisory are both at 2 o'clock today. So I don't know what the heck I'm going to do on that one. I think I'm going to have my phone having taxation and then communications advisory here. But there's some good stuff because, like, let's say taxation and government finance. If you're concerned about these ballot propositions that have, taxable implications in them, and you want to find out more about it, and see how our process works, how we decide what propositions that we're going to support, we're going to be against, laws that are coming up. Come join us for one of these meetings. That names are dry as all get out, but there's some really good stuff. My personal favorite committee is home ownership housing. And, you know, you're probably saying, home ownership housing? What kind of ridiculous name of a committee is that? And that's because there's another committee called investment housing. They talk about investments, spit it out. And we talk about housing regarding homeowners. Investments, they talk lenders, we talk homeowners. And we discuss a lot of the different things regarding, you know, common interest, situation, the mobile homes. Who thought that a mobile home situation would need its own little chair, issues chair? But there's all kinds of things. We talk about all kinds of things. So just hop on the schedule. If you got a spare hour and something sounds interesting, listen and learn something. And maybe you might say, hey, you know what? Maybe I want to participate in this stuff. And you know what? It's a good way to kind of dip your toe in the pool, because really now I can't imagine being in this business and not being involved.
That's right. Same here.
Okay, we're 5 minutes over. Anything else?
That's it. I'm working on putting in the links. So give me a couple minutes.
Yes, Lisa did freeze. Lisa did freeze. She did. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I unplugged like all my little Alexa. I unplugged that. I turned my phone off. I tried everything. Somebody must have turned on a TV somewhere in my house. Anyhow. Okay, guys. Anything else, Lori?
That's it.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll see you all at the expo next week, if not our business meetings. I'd love to see you at my panel first thing out of the gate, and just watch. We'll make up our minds whether we're going to come do this on Monday. I really think we could probably pull it off, but yeah, Lori needs to check her schedule and let me know what she thinks.
Yeah, I'm available.
Alrighty. On that note, go out, have a good week, look for people doing bad things, and go sell a house.
Try to report them.
Yes. Go try out those new rules. Hey, share that one with your office, because I don't think anybody's really going to be talking about that. Do you, Lori?
The Orange County Q&A?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So all of you guys here, just go spread the word. Be the messenger. Help do good things.
Yes.
All righty. On that note, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.